Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. I'm Jessica Stutzman. Today's youth, tomorrow's leaders is the slogan of this nonprofit here with us today. The organization is better known throughout the community by its initials, MYAA. But for the Millcreek Youth Athletic Association, staff and volunteers, those four letters stand for so much more. Joining us today to talk about their numerous sports program offerings is the president of MYAA, Johnny Hosford, and Tricia DeSanti-Bame, baseball commissioner of the Major Division and Little League coordinator. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Jessica.
Well, MYAA has been around for a very long time, and as I was telling you guys before the program started, I'm proud to say that I was also a part of the MYAA softball program and sports program. So this is definitely near and dear to my heart as, you know, an active participant when I was younger. But first thing I want to dive right into, what is your mission statement?
The mission of MYAA is to implant firmly into the youth and community ideals as good sportsmanship, honesty, loyalty, courage, courtesy, and reverence, so that they may be finer, stronger, happier, and that they'll grow to be good, clean, healthy citizens of our community.
And that's really important because I know we're going to touch on each part of your mission statement as we go through the interview, but how long have you been in existence as MYAA?
MYAA this year, we're celebrating our 63rd year.
How many?
63.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that.
Started, I believe, initially with baseball, and we've developed many other activities, has grown out of it. And we're still going strong, and we're lucky to have all the volunteers we have to keep us going for this long.
That's a lot of years.
We're constantly reinventing ourselves. So, you know, like Donnie said, it may have started with baseball, but within every family, you have those kids that enjoy different aspects of athletics. So, you know, we moved into softball, and now we offer lacrosse, cross country, basketball, just about something for every kid that might be in a family.
And you have a really strong partnership to make all of this work. You have a strong partnership with Millcreek Township and with the Millcreek Township School District. Do you want to touch on how those have evolved over the years and you know, where you see yourself going?
I could say without the township and the school district, they help us out a lot. With our facilities, we use a lot of their facilities, the Parks and Rec Department, the school district, and some of the facilities that they have. They help us maintain them, prepare them for our activities out there. So, you know, we're indebted to the township for all the work and support that they give us to help us be productive with our program.
And that, you know, relationship has evolved, I think, a lot throughout the years too. And they probably help advertise for you guys,
Absolutely.
you know, as far as bringing more kids to the program.
Absolutely.
Too.
Through their website, the In Millcreek magazine, there's always reference for our programs. So that's definitely beneficial to us as well.
And so you did mention it once already, but I really want to list, and we can put a list on the screen even, what are the organized sports that MYAA offers?
We do have baseball, softball, basketball, lacrosse, cross country, football, swimming, and we also have, as part of our baseball program, we have a Riptide, which is a competitive division, travel baseball. We are actually looking into expanding that into softball coming in the next couple of years. And also, as our baseball, part of our baseball is a Little League Challenger division, which gives kids with physical and mental disabilities an opportunity to play. They pair up with buddies in some of the other baseballs and softball that kind of help guide them and help them. And it's really a rewarding experience for those kids as well.
That's fantastic. And there are so many programs. Like you said, you may have started off just with baseball and then started to branch out and move forward and even into lacrosse, which is like a new super popular sport. Do you think, again, you did mention some of those things you're going to expand to in the future. You know, this is a huge undertaking for you guys.
Absolutely. Anytime we want to, you know, bring in a new activity, it's normally brought on by a member of our community who wants to come on board and promote a new activity. And it does take, you know, to get the ball rolling and, you know, get that sport and get, recruit the base for people that want to participate.
Right.
Lacrosse being one of our more recent cross country as well. But both of those sports are growing, and you know, if anyone ever has any ideas for further sport maybe that we don't offer, approach us. We'd be glad to sit down and talk about it.
I think one of the great things about, when we talk about inventing ourselves over and over again, we really do look for people in the community, like Donnie said, that can help us do that. And one of the best avenues we have for that is obviously our own athletic program at McDowell. So when we look at new programs, usually it's those coaches too at McDowell that are helping us kind of navigate those waters, figure out what we need to do, what we have to have in place, and most importantly, how we can best develop the talent for our athletes. So whether it's some of the new things that we've looked at, like volleyball, we really do reach out to them and look for their expertise, and they have been fantastic at supporting our program through the years.
And there's probably a lot of factors into introducing a new sport that many people, watching this program may not even think of, besides just obviously finding the coaches and the players, the fields, who's going to maintain those fields. I mean, there is a lot involved.
Absolutely. Facility maintenance it becomes more and more difficult, as we continue to grow, finding those facilities and space, and especially in indoor facilities for our basketball program. Finding facilities to hold us is sometimes a challenge, but we've been lucky with partners in our community that have been there to help us. We do, as Trish said, we do have a committee that is called our 2020 Vision, which kind of looks out into the future, what we want to develop, and we kind of rely on those groups as a member of our board. We've looked into volleyball. There's been a kickball that was floated out there a few years ago, and we've actually turned kickball into a fundraiser for our program.
Oh, really?
We have it's an adult league, which is at our 15th Street complex, which the township has been a great partner with during the summer, and the adults come in the evening. We have 4 fields up there. They just have a good time.
Yeah.
Just bring back the nostalgic of when you were playing when you were younger.
Right.
And, they really do enjoy it, and it helps bring in some financial reward for us as well.
Oh,
so.
Sure. I think kickball sounds a lot of fun. I think if you were to say dodgeball, I might run in the other direction. How many children are involved in the program? Because with so many sports, I'm sure some of them are, repeats. They maybe come for basketball season, and then, for softball season or football season, and then, a different season. But how many kids are involved in your programs?
We have close to 5,000 participants throughout our programs. Our biggest programs are basketball, baseball, and softball, and many of those do cross over, but we have a lot of kids that are involved in just single sports, and we're lucky to have every one of them.
And how many teams are formed? I mean, 5,000 kids. How many teams are formed, within maybe your football or your baseball division? How many teams are formed?
It really all depends. It depends both on the sport, and it depends on the enrollment for that given year. So we're constantly evaluating that. We usually give our parents a lot of leeway with respect to registration, so that we have time to evaluate the numbers as they're coming in. All of our teams are supported by volunteer coaches. So it's really important for us to keep a good finger on the pulse with respect to our registration, so that we have quality volunteers to help those kids through the season. But some of our baseball teams, in my division, for example, I have 8 teams. The division below mine has 16. So it all depends on the ages. In our football program, we have 2 teams currently. And we just continue to grow based on what the registration is, and based on how good we can work with our community at getting the word out for that.
And what is the age range? Like, what is, if somebody's kid is, child is like dying to start playing sports, what is the youngest that can sign up all the way, through the oldest child?
Our youngest program, I believe, is 5 years old at T-ball for baseball. And it is pretty sport specific, but we go all the way up to, I believe, 16 years old, so there's a real big variance there. We do try and bring them in as soon as they're, you do have to wait. I know some families, with like 3 and 4 year olds playing, but you got to understand that our volunteers are trying to teach these kids. So. Right.
And they're, most importantly, trying to teach them safety lessons.
Absolutely.
So what are some of those safety lessons and fundamentals that we can expect from MYAA?
Safety is paramount. We're always looking out, whether it be a contact sport like football, having the baseline testing done,
What is
with
the
concussion.
baseline testing?
Baseline testing for concussion. They go in. The school district has partnered with us in the past, where we go in their computer lab. They do a test. And that kind of gives them an idea of their brain function, things along those lines. That way, if there is an injury, they have some way to judge. If there is a severe injury, what the extent of.
Right. And that's called the impact test, am I
Correct.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
And that is so important. I remember being a coach myself, and that was mandatory. I mean, girls were not allowed on the field until they got that impact concussion testing done.
Right.
Yep.
So to that point, and then even over into the other sports, the baseball, even at the young level, we're really concentrating on knowing what's around you. Baseball, softball especially, these younger kids swinging the bats, not understanding. We implement rules during games and practices as to how to conduct yourself and to avoid any injury. So safety is always, we want these kids to be safe as they're playing. So we teach it seriously in our program.
And you think it's helpful to teach them early on, like as soon as they get started, because I think, again, you teach them something sooner and they learn to do it safely throughout their sports career, versus learning maybe a bad technique early on and then trying to change bad habits later. How do you guys feel?
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the key with safety, making sure that they understand not only to have fun. I mean, obviously, the whole goal of a recreational program is to have a good time. They get to play with friends in their community. They're coached by some really great members of our community. But ultimately, being able to have that enjoyment and still be safe and not, look, football field, lacrosse field, baseball field, softball field, those are dangerous places if you're not making sure that the kids are safe. So, making sure that they understand that from an early point, so that by the time they get up to my division in baseball, I don't really have those issues because the coaches before in the other programs have done a great job with it. So.
And besides learning the skills and the safety of each of the different sports that you offer, the Millcreek Youth Athletic Association, again, just from your website, your mission statement, you guys are all about stressing the importance of having fun during the game, but also the importance of teaching respect. Can you touch on those two aspects of fun and respect?
Absolutely. Fun is important because these kids are not going to be coming back year after year if they're not enjoying themselves. So we do want to make sure that they're learning something and enjoying it at the same time. And even from the younger levels, we're trying to teach them just basic fundamentals. And from year to year, we work within our programs, all of our commissioners of building in rules and things throughout the program, kind of build on a skill year after year, to kind of build on each of those fundamentals.
And what about sportsmanship? What type of things do you tell both the players and the parents and the coaches as far as sportsmanship and what your expectations are?
We have a pretty tight leash on that, honestly. I mean, for the most part, we really don't have those issues that I know everyone can see if they, Google Little League sometimes on YouTube, but we just don't experience that. And I think that comes from the fact that our board is very much involved in the sports that we run. Donnie and I are often at the fields watching our leagues play. We have very good relationships with our coaches. I know my parents, he knows his parents. And when you're a presence and they understand how important character is within our organization, then there's a lot less likelihood that that's actually going to occur. Sure, everybody has a bad game and there are, bad calls and people get frustrated, but we just don't seem to have that problem like other leagues have had. Our kids are very respectful, and you see that year after year. And these kids ultimately grow up and they become outstanding members of their high school teams. Some of them have gone on to play at college and they continue to represent us. So I think we're doing a pretty good job with respect to instilling character. And I think that's where we take a lot of pride in the Challenger program, because it gives our players and our teams opportunities to give back to their community. We have a lot of very fortunate athletes that can play any sport they want, and you see them at the fields with our Challenger program, working with these kids who have an opportunity themselves now to get on the field and engage in that sport, and that shows them how to give back to their community as well. And that's really important to us.
And go ahead.
And just kind of continue on to Tricia's point there. We try and instill community service into our kids as well. Our basketball program has done an excellent job in doing that. They have, in the past year, each week of their season, have bring in food items, clothing, different things that we can donate to other nonprofits throughout our community. We take our 50-50 once the week right before Christmas, which is normally our largest amount, and we take our half and we donate it to a local charity. So we try and teach these kids about how important it is to give back to our community because they give us so much.
And I was going to say too, just from what I remember in the program was, parents are of course on the sidelines when, the coaches are coaching, but other than that, I do remember the parents being a very heavy aspect of your volunteer base as well. So they're very ingrained in the program.
They're the centerpiece of our program, and I think Donnie would agree with that. I think any commissioner in our program would agree with that. If you are lucky enough as a commissioner to have a great group of volunteers coaching your kids, your program is ultimately going to have success. And I think we're very, very fortunate. I believe we have about 400 volunteers right now in our program, and that's outside of our board. Those are the people that show up at all the practices, that are coaching the kids, that work on our fields. There wasn't a field, baseball or softball this summer, that was not utilized from May until the end of June. Literally 2 solid months they were set, and our parents are working on those fields. So we're very grateful for what they give our kids, and we really couldn't be successful without them.
Well, just diving right into, once somebody has signed up for MYAA, are tryouts required, and how do kids get divvied up between the teams?
It all depends on the program that we offer. There are some programs which we are a Little League affiliate that they have some rules that I know Trish can speak better on of how they need to have their evaluations and teams are selected. For a lot of the other teams, we try and pair them up according to if they go to school together, we keep them in the same age or neighborhood, just so they can participate with their friends and things like that. So we try and do that the best we can. It is challenging when you're dealing with 5,000 participants.
Right.
But we do our best to accommodate families and siblings that play together, things like that. So
that probably is helpful to the parents to put kids who live in the same neighborhood together. That way they can all carpool together as well.
Yes.
And then so when do, and I guess maybe you have so many sports, this is going to be a really broad question. When do your seasons begin and end, and roughly how many games are played? But again, that would vary between each sport.
I'm pretty confident that you can say at no point in the calendar do we not have an activity going on. So we typically run our registrations probably about 60 days before the season starts. Gives us time to get things organized, get kids out on the field for practices, and then eventually into games. Our next set of registration would be for our basketball program, which will start in September, and then their practices and games will be November, December, and into January and February. And then we follow through with baseball and basketball. Those registrations start in February, and then the season, depending on the level, seasons will begin anywhere from April into May. Lacrosse follows that in June and July, and then we have cross country and football as well that follow them. Swimming actually runs all year round. So there is a summer program which they compete with some of the local programs with meets, and then they do have a year-round swimming program as well.
And do you see some of the same kids trying to get into every single season of sports?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, you have your baseball kids that go on to play, lacrosse in the fall, and then they play basketball in the winter, and then they come back to baseball in January. So yeah, I mean, we definitely have a lot of kids that are multi-sport athletes within our program, so we get to know their families pretty well.
And how does somebody register or sign their child up to, for basketball or for the next season that's coming up?
We do have our website, which is MYAAsports.com. On there is all the information for registrations. You can see anything that's active at that time. All of our people that have registered in the past are on our email list, and there'll be a big blast that goes out saying this sport is having signups, to complete your registration. But if you're ever looking just to see what we have, you can go to that website and register your child for whatever program might feed their interest.
You can always look for us on Facebook as well. We have a great communications group right now that gets information out on Facebook. Make sure that they're highlighting the successes that our programs are encountering. So, website, you can obviously call the office, and our Facebook account as well. So we're out there if anyone needs information about us.
And what is the general fee for signups? I'm sure maybe each sport is different, but roughly what is the general fee for signing up for a program?
We'll be anywhere between some of our sports $50, $60 up to maybe $110, I think is our most expensive. But we do take that in mind every year when we're trying to decide what our fee is going to be. We understand that families do sacrifice for their kids to compete in programs. We do offer a discount for within the same sport. So if you have your kids signing up at the same time, 2 or 3 kids playing baseball, for instance, we do offer that help. We offer payment plans to help facilitate that. And if we understand families come in hard times, and we're always willing to work with them.
Right.
We're all of our board members and volunteers, we're all here to support the kids of our community, and we want to do what we can to help them.
And that's like you mentioned, the range of fees, but kids love playing sports, and we know sports are expensive. So this is kind of just the start of what I think the taste of what parents are going to feel later on down the line when they hit high school. I remember what that costs to do competitive travel teams. But is there any equipment or clothing that the parents should come prepared with, or does MYAA provide anything?
We provide almost everything. For our football and lacrosse, we offer pads and helmets. For baseball and softball, we give them bats and the balls and helmets and things along those lines. The only thing that we normally ask, obviously, footwear, whether it be basketball shoes or cleats for whatever sport they would need that themselves, a glove for baseball. But other than that, we try and provide as much equipment as possible.
And that takes a lot of that burden off too, financially.
Absolutely.
Yes, so that's very helpful. And I really want to touch on this. We're running out of time here, but the volunteering aspect, again, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but how can coaches with good experience, how are they instrumental to your program, and how can they get involved?
Well, first of all, we're very big on development. In having fun in a sport, also, you want to win, and you want the kids to develop from year to year. You don't want a kid's abilities to be stagnant from the time they turn, they're 6 to they're 10. So our coaches are pivotal with respect to that. Every time we have a registration, doesn't matter what the sport is, all volunteers that are interested also register, and that's how we get, first inclination that they want to be involved. A lot of our coaches, many of them have moved through the program. I've had a coach, coaches with me that started in our T-ball program and have continuously coached all the way through our majors and our juniors division. So, I can tell you when we find a coach that's good, we kind of tend to hang on to them. But it's very important to us that they are involved, that these kids have good role models, men and women of character, who are good citizens in their community and who are working to help them improve at the sport that they've, fallen in love with. And that's really important to us.
And there are even opportunities. We have people that approach us for clinics with each specific sport. The high school has been very supportive with baseball and basketball, lacrosse, all the sports. Their coaches offering clinics or support in any way they can. Even the local universities will do camps and clinics to kind of get our kids ready for their upcoming season. So, people may not have children in our program. And we do have volunteers. We had a few in softball this year who they don't have kids. They're just young girls who played and they love the game and they want to help their community. So, if there's anyone out there that wants to volunteer, we're always welcome. They can visit our webpage. There's contact information for all of our sports presidents and commissioners. Feel free to reach out and ask how they can help. We'd gladly take their help.
And you, like you mentioned earlier, the parents and other people, maybe if they don't want to coach, there are plenty of other volunteer aspects available for them as well. And the one thing I want to touch on before we have to go, you have had many, many successes through your program throughout the years, but do you just want to touch on 1 or 2 successes you've seen recently with MYAA?
Well, I think our all-star programs at the baseball level have been very successful in recent years. This year, our 9 through 11-year-old age group was able to secure a District 3 Little League championship and went on to compete and represent us at states. A few years back, I think it's been 2 years now or 3 years now, we had a state championship team for our Little League baseball program, which is great because it allows us to, get our name and our program out throughout the state, throughout the area, as really a leader in developing, both the athletic abilities as well as the character and citizenship of our players.
Mm-hmm. Well, Donnie and Tricia, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for being here today. Unfortunately, we run out of time, but I really do want to push viewers to your website, to your phone, to your Facebook page, to sign up not only to play the sports but to volunteer. You guys have been around for decades and you do such a wonderful job. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you
Well,
for
thank you very
having
much
us.
for having us.
Viewers, as you can see, this program has been around for a very, very long time. It's a staple in our community. If your children haven't participated in MYAA sports, they're definitely going to want to start. And also don't forget to volunteer to coach or help clean up some of the fields. But thank you for tuning into the Millcreek Government Channel. And until next time, have a wonderful day.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.